Alright everyone, Vox made an article the other day and they accidentally praised Joe Biden for perhaps his worst characteristic. They're applauding him for this. They're saying, well, Biden essentially, what they're saying, represents a return to normalcy. That's what Biden offers us. Only number one if you count the Obama era as normal, which trust me it isn't. An era of degradation, of the government essentially lowering people's expectations, departing from the fairly long-term tradition of America first, ultimately. And going back to the new norm of Obama of 7% unemployment, having to live with less, we need to scale down our role in the world, just sort of manage our own decline, so to speak. Americans are not born and bred to think that way. And so the idea that that was ever going to take command as the new norm, I think is bullshit. Trump actually represents the return to the long-term norm. Biden represents a return to boringness. That's basically the Obama administration was a boring administration. Obama was rather quiet and well-spoken in his mannerisms, very professionalistic, even his elocution. The way he literally walked around simply was astute and academic. He looked more like a professor than a president. Now that's really good for dealing with your allies in a diplomatic fashion. Really great for our relationship with Europe. No problems there for the most part. Few squabbles over the Middle Eastern stuff, but for the most part, that was okay. Good for dealing with your allies. Good for projecting an aura of calm during a time of crisis. Trump, meanwhile, is good for dealing with our enemies. He's good for dealing with Russia and China and Middle Eastern affairs and Maduro and people like that. Not so good with European affairs. He's good for representing a symbol of strength during a time of prosperity, which he helped to promulgate. He has created Trump's economic policies in part. Part of it's due to a fuel boom. Obama basically stepped out of the way. He gets credit, by the way, from me for that. He chose not to stand in the way of things like fracking and oil exploration in the latter part of his presidency, leading to an economic boom now. In part, it was the private marketplace in the unbridled fashion moving forward. Obama was pressured significantly by environmentalists in the far left to squash that down and say, no more oil, just solar panels. He didn't do that. Even his attack on coal country basically just led to more oil being extracted. You have a lack of fuel in one department, another fuel sort of takes its place, and solar is growing. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not exactly how we became an economic juggernaut. So they represent different things. Joe Biden is nothing more than the older, more gaffe-prone, less well-spoken, creepy version of Obama. I am telling you now that if you put Joe Biden on a debate stage with Donald Trump, Trump is going to run rings around him. Joe Biden is not a good debater. He is not a good speaker. Trump's only mediocre at these things. He had a weak opponent before it helped him win. Ultimately, if you had an Obama-level Democratic candidate, someone with soaring rhetoric and sort of better experience, probably they would have won against Trump. Even given the polling bias and the fact that Trump had the superior platform, I think in unmedicated minds, wouldn't have really mattered. The Democrats by default would have won, even with the lackluster post-Obama economy. Now, though, you've got a situation where Vox is praising Joe Biden essentially for being boring. That's really what he represents. You remember sort of the excitement of the 2016 election. Well, nobody wants a snooze fest. In a situation where Biden is representing being normal, being astute and academic, and he's up against someone who's going to prowl around on the stage and try to look imposing and say weird shit, Trump's going to eat him up. Vox is literally, you're walking into a trap by nominating Biden anyway. The worst thing is there's no real alternative. The Democrats have done a fucking piss poor job of trying to centrally manage the candidacies. They did this in 2016. They thought Hillary Clinton's the only one who can win. We've got a coordinator. They got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and it ruined their trust with voters. It's looking like they're going to do it again. Only they're doing it fairly openly. The fact that they have super delegates at all ensures that part of their party leaves the primary process and is alienated. They will at the very least have lowered turnout, if not spurn the party entirely. The fact that the Democrats use super delegates is crazy. They should adopt a system like the Republicans have. Simply weight the delegates, try to keep the states in line, more or less, with the primary process. Sometimes if a state tries to jump ahead in line, they'll say, okay, you don't get delegates. Basically, then it becomes a symbolic sort of situation. States, always want to jump on. Every state wants to be the first to vote. But anytime someone tries to switch it away from Iowa, the parties balk and threaten them. It's weird because they really shouldn't have Iowa first anymore. Iowa's now a leaning red state. It's no longer really a swing state for the most part anyway. Didn't Trump win it by 6-7 points? I think. They should switch it. Virginia should, oddly enough, probably be the first state to vote. Virginia or New Hampshire maybe by default. That would make more sense. The Iowa caucus comes first usually, and then you have New Hampshire, but maybe they should switch it around and give New Hampshire the 4. They're more of a swing state. Hillary Clinton won by 2 points. A little bit disproportionate. That's how you should do it. Which, oddly enough, gives Bernie Sanders the first shot on the field, because he almost certainly will win there, unless he gets totally crushed by then in the debates. But, I mean, yeah, Biden's boring. He's not a particularly charismatic individual. And the thing is, he's old, too. The other problem is he's 76. That's a problem for someone who's campaigning to be the president of the United States. Both of the front runners, the only 2 people in the Dem field that have double-digit totals right now are both literally geriatric. They're over 75. They are literally elderly people. Trump is approaching that threshold anyway. Now, if the Democrats have a 50-year-old candidate, it's going to be kind of conspicuous that you have a younger-ish sort of person running against someone who's basically old. No offense to anyone who's 75 watching these videos, but that's old. When I'm 75 sitting here making videos with a holographic projector or whatever weird technology we have, 45 years from now, yes, I will be old. I'm going to look like a wizard, hopefully. I don't want to look like Joe Biden. Somebody sent me on Twitter yesterday a video. There was this, those the Sphinx cats, the ones that are almost hairless. They're kind of wrinkly and weird looking. I kind of like them, but they are weird. And it had a little shirt on, and it was like kneading on another cat, and the other cat was like looking on unamused. And it was like, this is Joe Biden as a cat, and stuff like that. Like the cat was doing the smushy thing where it like purrs into its fur and suckles, and kind of creepy in Joe Biden's case. But yeah, that's basically what he represents. I can't think of many positives about Biden other than he has the political experience, he has the corporate money, and he happens to have the most name recognition. This is really his advantages. Sanders also has name recognition. He's disqualified on the basis that he doesn't understand jack shit about economics, and that he's even too far left for most of the Democrats. Why do you think he's hovering around 15-20% right now in the polling? Joe Biden's got at least 30 on a bad day. There's been, not one poll has been conducted since the beginning of the Democratic primaries in which any candidate has ever at any time been ahead of Biden, even when Biden had not announced and was still dicking around with the idea of not running. He's like, well, maybe, we'll see, I'll make a decision eventually, kinda, yeah, I thought about running. He did that for 6 fucking months. Every single poll, he came out on top. And now things are going to get more and more. After the first debate, that's basically the last chance for most of the lower tier candidates. If they don't score a big win then, they're not going to have time to build up the campaign energy and sort of interior machinery they need to compete anyway. The lower half of the field will be literally disqualified after the first debate. Some of them will drop out after the first debate. As the field thins, I have a feeling that the Democrats, who consistently, when polled about what's most important to you going into this election in a candidate, electability. They are so desperate because they are so alienated by Trump that they just want to win. They don't really care what they replace him with. The problem is that a close second, I'm sure, in some of their minds, especially the Rust Belt Democrats, is we don't want a leftist candidate. The Democrats are fucked either way because their party is schismatic right now and comprises 2 different voting blocs that don't get along. The 2 minor voting blocs within the Democratic Party, respectively 10 to 20% of the party on each side, are the far left and the business Dem / sort of conservative or center-left individuals. The centrists, the moderates, the Biden Democrats. Then you've got the neoliberal core, where all the money is. And that core has to side with one group or the other. It can't waffle between the 2. You can't straddle that kind of fence. It's not really a fence. It's more like a minefield. Eventually you step in the wrong place. And Pelosi, people like Pelosi, they know this. They're sitting there sweating bullets right now, trying in vain to project strength and sort of, pretend to be dismissive of Trump. But at the same time, you'll notice sometimes when you hear them speak, they seem panicked. Part of that is because Joe Biden's likely to be their standard bearer. And they're not too happy about that. They should have let Hillary run this time and had Biden go the last time, arguably. That would be funny. Because Biden would die in office anyway at his age. Hillary Clinton gets a crack at it. And it wouldn't matter if she was likable because they'd be coming off of incumbency. Joe Biden, goes bye-bye. She, I guess, gets to be VP or something like that. So our first female president wouldn't be elected at all. That's why people didn't vote for John McCain. They were terrified of the idea of Sarah Palin being the first female president. Can you fucking imagine? That election was more of a referendum on Sarah Palin than it was anything else. Joe Biden being a return to normalcy. Yes, wonderful. Yes, I want to return to paying more taxes, 7% unemployment, a government that is disdainful of parts of the U.S. population, guns and Bible, flyover state business with Obama, with a president who's just fucking boring. No thanks. I think I like the mean tweets better. I think I like paying less better. I think I like the idea of the United States actually maintaining an active role in the world, not a militaristic one, but an active, we are sort of the major power of the world role. Yes, I support that very much. No, I do not care about my free shit, because my free shit comes with a hell of a lot of taxes attached. That's about all. Peace out.